Guys, it happened again. It happened again. I always debate restarting the game to show you me doing the permutation path that got me this shiny, but I don't ever want to risk it. If one shows up, I don't want to reload the game and risk it. Anyways, you can see it is unfortunately female again. That is not our target. We are looking for a male shiny alpha Mr. Mime because we are going for a Mr. Rime. So unfortunately, yet again, the hunt will continue. We have yet another shiny alpha phase. The other one being this one. So this one here is Impish Nature. And well, we're already here, and it's been so long since we've been here. Let's see if there's any other shinies. Just out of curiosity. By the way, if you hear something in the background, if you hear someone talking in the background, I am doing a virtual seminar right now. Though that doesn't mean I need to pay attention. See, every year to renew my license, I need a certain number of credits. Like, I gotta take some online, courses or whatever. Not an actual course, but, I just need to watch, a video and then do the quote-unquote test afterwards with infinite numbers of tries. But sometimes throughout the year there are seminars and they count for a credit. So I need to attend those. I need a certain number of credits to renew my license every year. And by joining these online seminars, I get credits. Again, that doesn't mean I need to pay attention to them. In fact, earlier, this seminar actually showed off a lady putting in contact lenses with her feet. It's like, how is this important? I wasn't paying attention, but when I looked down on my phone and I saw the visuals of a lady putting contact lenses in, I'm just like, those don't look like hands. Are those toes? No, I must be seeing things. And then it's like, no, she's actually using her feet. Wow, interesting skill, I suppose. I don't know how you ever discovered to do that. But, good for you, I suppose, if that's your standout in life. Anyway, so the seminar is almost up in about 30 minutes. See, the seminars, they lasted... Well, there was actually 3 separate seminars, each hosted by the same people. The seminars were supposed to start from 6 p.m. all the way until 9 p.m. Because it goes from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and then 7 to 8 and then 8 to 9. So 3 seminars. But then for some reason, it started at 7. So it lasted from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And man, there was some bullshit that happened in the emails again. You're supposed to apply, register to actually attend the seminar. And then what you're supposed to get is an email saying, hey, thanks for registering. You can use this link to join. But I never got the email. And same case with last time there were seminars. I never got the email to join, thus I missed it. So I emailed their, customer service or whatever. And they were saying, oh, it's an automated email. You'll get it the day of, around noon. It's like, okay, I'll wait. I waited. Nothing. It's like, hey, I still don't have it. And then whoever I was emailing, I assume it's a lady. And she was saying, like, as stated before, it's an automated email. Anyway, so here's the links. And she just sent me the links. It's like, well, how hard was that to do the first time? You know, today after work, my sister texted me, like, is there any Taco Bells near you? I looked it up, was like, yeah, actually there is. There's a Taco Bell right on the way of me coming home. Well, at least it's, like, the same road. I do have to take a detour. I do need to make a right turn where I'm supposed to go straight. And then when the right turn happens, like, I gotta turn back. See, my sister loves Taco Bell. Particularly the beef burrito, the burrito. But more specifically, beef burritos with no rice or jalapeno sauce. So she only likes beef and cheese with her tortilla. Her tortilla. No, not this. Okay, folks, so we may have gotten a shiny alpha. Actually, I can release these two. We may have gotten another shiny alpha Mime Jr., but it's not what we're going for. We are going specifically for a male one to get a male Mr. Rime. So unfortunately, the hunt continues. If anything, I hope this shows you how dedicated I can be. Like, how determined I can be to get what I want. Like, I could have easily ended this hunt with the first shiny alpha. But no, one minute difference that doesn't honestly make any sort of significant change. No. No, I will get exactly what I want. And I will not settle for anything less. Some could see this as being a good or a bad thing. Any ladies out there looking for a man who is willing to line up for whatever beauty product they're looking for? Anyway, so the hunt continues. At least now we can go back to the old method. So, a couple things to go over today. Let me see. So we do have Dead City, the next episode of Dead City, Season 3, Episode 4, and the first episode of Lanterns. However, I didn't have too much time. So I did watch the episodes, but I gotta go off of memory here. So, like, if I forget a couple of details, forgive me. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention last time about D23, they also showed off a small teaser for the live-action Rapunzel. And not gonna lie, it looks good. It's just a teaser. More like the actors saying hi. But from the way they look, it does look good. You know, it's a pretty big surprise that they actually casted white people to play these roles. And you know very well that they weren't planning to initially. You know very well, ever since Rachel Zegler with Snow White, you know very well they would not dare to do it again. Oh boy, we could go back. We could go back to the trenches right now. Oh, I also forgot to show you. So take a look. These are the permutations I did for that shiny alpha. Yeah, I didn't do a big chunk here. So these are all the ones I did end up doing. You know, I just did whatever I could, right? So these were some of the permutations that I managed to get done, and it was actually this one right here, permutation number 63, that I got the shiny alpha for. This shiny alpha, yeah, 63 permutations, at least down the list-wise. I didn't do 63, because some of them I couldn't do. So like I said earlier, I could have saved the game so that I can show you me doing permutation 63, but I didn't want to risk it. Oh boy, if this is a secondary alpha horde, we're going back to the trenches right away. I can't even see what's happening. And, you know, I really had to bring myself to do the permutations on my own, because it's not fun. At least when I'm doing them here, I'm kind of motivated to do them. Okay, so there's not. Yeah, at least when I'm doing them here, I'm a little motivated to. But on my own, there is just no motivation whatsoever to do them. In fact, what I've been doing instead was finishing up the other hunt I've been doing, which is my shiny alpha regional forms and evolutions in Legend ZA. So, I finally got a shiny alpha Alolan Meowth. In fact, I got two. I got a shiny alpha Galarian Meowth, which I got one of, but then I got two additional non-alpha shiny Galarian Meowths. So, the very last one I needed, and yes, the Meowths were saved for last. It just kind of happened like that. What was I about to say? So last up, the last shiny alpha regional form I needed was Stunfisk, Galarian Stunfisk, and that was proving to be very difficult to find, very difficult to spawn, until I finally looked it up. And I'm not gonna lie, I asked ChatGPT. You're about to hear me hate on some AI in a second. But yeah, I asked ChatGPT. First of all, I asked, does Galarian Stunfisk spawn in small, medium, or large hyperspace distortions? And it could spawn in any of them. All three, it could spawn in any of them. But then ChatGPT actually told me something interesting, that it frequently spawns when Golett and Golurk also spawn, so check those as well. If you see a ground type, and also specifically only ground type, no steel types, Galarian Stunfisk only spawns in 4-star ground type distortions. So if you see that with Golett, Golurk, and regular Stunfisk, then you should check it out. And like almost instantly, I found one, and yeah, it did spawn Galarian Stunfisk. I didn't know that regular Stunfisk spawning could also mean Galarian Stunfisk. I didn't know that. I was just resetting, like, day-night skipping until I saw one that spawned Galarian Stunfisk. So I probably passed it up a lot. Anyway, so I finished that. I finally finished that. In Legend ZA, I finally caught all regional forms and regional form evolutions, shiny and alpha. So that hunt is done. I don't really think I have many, or if any more. What? I don't think I have many more, or if any. I don't think I have any more. What? I don't think I have any more hunts to do in Legend ZA, okay? Which I suppose that happening, the timing for all this couldn't be better, because now I can solely focus on this. I can finally hunt this on my own time again, and not be bogged down by a permutation hunt. Anyway, so I don't think I have anything else to mention about D23. Uh, wasn't there some Hollywood news I was supposed to go over? You know, surprisingly, there's a lot of backlash when it comes to Indy Navarette being cast as Rogue. And it's like people were saying what we wanted, which was her playing Mystique, and what we got, her playing Rogue. It's like, what's the matter with you people? She got cast as Rogue, that's also awesome. Have y'all seen the fan art of Indy Navarette as Rogue? Curse you, whoever will be cast as Gambit. Oh, quick little story about something that happened at work today. So I helped out some Chinese lady came in. She asked me, you know, like, do I speak Chinese? I told her Cantonese, because I don't speak no damn Mandarin. So thank God she was able to speak either one, so she could actually understand what I was saying. She said that her very mangled up frame needed some adjustment. So I told her the basics, you know, because you didn't buy this from us. If I try to adjust for you and it snaps, it breaks, nothing I can do about it. So she was just saying like, oh, your Chinese is very good. Where were you born? Like, were you born in Hong Kong? I'm just like, nah, I was born here in the good old Canada of duh. She's just like, oh, your Chinese is really good, especially for someone born here. And it's just like, seriously? My Chinese has always been regarded as pretty shitty. Of course, my friends, would you believe? My friends' Chinese are even shittier than mine. Like, I can speak Cantonese fluently enough to be able to get across most of my message, like what I'm trying to say. And I also speak it to the point of not having, like, a Western accent speaking it. So, you know, she was trying to compliment me, like, oh, your Chinese is so good. In fact, it's really good, especially if you were born here. And yeah, it's just like, nah, it's actually pretty crap. Like, honestly. Anyway, so I fixed her shit up. And I didn't charge her for anything, you know? The money doesn't come to me anyway, so why should I accept money? Oh boy, what did I get this time? Of course it's another Abra. A bruh. I can't save now. Never mind, I can. Leave me alone, please. Don't see me, don't see me, don't see me, don't see me. That bird's not on my ass anymore? Well, that's why we saved. So anyways, as I was saying, I didn't charge her anything for the service, because the money doesn't come to me anyways. Even if I did charge her, I would have charged her like $5. That $5 stays in the store, you know, to use as change in case anyone needs change. So the money doesn't even enter my pocket. I make the same hourly as always. So it's like, I don't really care. If it was on my own store, hell yeah, I'd be charging you. But this ain't my store, so it's like, nah. I get paid all the same, so I ain't gonna charge you. Where did it even go? There it is. So, like, because I was willing to help her out, I didn't break her things, you know? Which I could have. Aw, crap. I'm not saying I could have as in, like, ooh, she deserves it. I could have broken it to her. Like, no. I'm saying, like, it's a very big risk that I try to adjust it back, the metal snaps, because it's been bent. So I try to bend it back, it may snap. You never know, right? That's just physics in our world. So it could have broken. I didn't want it to break, but it could have, but it didn't. So I helped her fix her shit up. Thankfully, it did not break, and I didn't charge her. So she came back, like, I don't know, 10 minutes later with a bag of tangerines. She went to the grocery store and bought me a bag of tangerines. And she was like, I don't know where the coffee shop is, so I just bought this for you. And it's like, well, I'm not going to say no. I'll just accept it and say thank you. So yeah, this lady, this Assam, bought me a bag of tangerines today. Well, that was nice. Oh yeah, I also tried the BTS chat time drink. It was like the crap, what was it called? The something Cosmos. But it's like something spelled with a K when it should be spelled with a C. I don't know, it was some purple BTS drink. It was like white grape, peach, and dragon fruit drink. It was okay. What's funny is the poster didn't even have BTS on the poster. I was trying to look around like, where's the BTS drink, right? Is it this? This purple drink, is it this? This cosmic drink? Like, there was no BTS logo on the poster, so I didn't know. You know, normally if BTS does a collab, the BTS logo is plastered all over. Man, I'm wasting all this time just trying to catch an Abra! Uh... What else was there for? Oh yeah, me hating on AI, even though I just said earlier I was using ChatGPT. So about these seminars, I just mentioned I'm attending. The first of 3 seminars this evening immediately got hit with a disclaimer. The lady doing all the talking, she was just like, and just a heads up, some of the images you're about to see were generated with AI. I immediately went... And I think people behind me were laughing. I don't know, I don't think I had my speakers on that loud. My speakers on my phone. Maybe they heard that on my phone, the seminar I was attending said AI was used. And then I reacted like that and they started laughing. But yeah, it's like, god damn it. Even you guys are using AI now? Like, y'all can't even just create your pictures? And also, more on me hating AI. So, currently, TVB has a show called, I believe it's called Mrs. Revenge. And the end credits use AI. It's not even discreet, and it's not even good AI. It's kind of akin to Secret Invasion's opening credits. Like, it is so blatantly AI. Like, it's AI of the actors in, like, superhero costumes, almost like in Doctor Strange outfits and other hero costumes. And it's like, god damn it, you guys are using AI too, and you're not even hiding it. It's very blatant AI. I never had an Abra this difficult to catch. So we also found out, or rather we had announced, what gender my sister's kid will be. Before I reveal it, last week my coworker, my mom finally told her that my sister's pregnant. And while she was happy, she was also mega concerned, like, oh no, what's gonna happen with you working here, right? Because, like, I kind of can't have you not work here anymore. Like, you're my replacement. You're like, I'm leaving for my pregnancy and you're my replacement. I kind of need you to be here. So now that your sister's pregnant, like, what's gonna happen there? Like, you're still gonna work here, right? Please. And I already told her, like, hell yeah, I'm gonna work here. That's her problem. That's their problem. That's not my problem anymore. They wanted me to find a job. I have a job now. Whatever happens to them, that's not my problem anymore. That's their problem. They need a replacement themselves. That's their problem. That's their job to find themselves a replacement. Just curious. Anyways, we also showed her, like, the ultrasound pictures, and she was instantly able to tell what gender the baby would be. She also mentioned that you can test it now, which I say now probably was the case for many years. Where, I don't know, like, has it even been 3 months? I don't even know. A couple months in, when the belly is just about to form, and you can see, like, you can see a body, an embryo actually start forming, you can actually test the gender, like, rather early. You don't need to wait 6 months or whatever. It's like, you can test it rather early now with, like, 99% accuracy or whatever she said. Part of me was thinking, I don't think my sister wants to do that. I think she wants to leave it for a surprise a little bit later on. But no, to my surprise, she actually found out today. So today, my sister told the rest of the family, like my parents and I, she told us what she's going to be having. But she didn't want to just, sit us down and tell us, like, verbally tell us. No, she wanted to show us. So what she had us do was go to the other room, that way she can dress Sky up in... Oh my god, there's a lot to look here. She can dress Sky up in either, like, a red or blue outfit. And when we walk into the room, we see which color it is, we will know. And she had me film the whole thing. Like, how did I film it? So, my parents and I, we were in the other room. My sister was dressing up Sky in a red or blue cape. Oh crap, I didn't save my berries. So I walked over first with phone in hand recording. And, I found out first. So I turned around and I recorded our parents walking in and their reaction. We were all happy. We were going to be happy regardless of boy or girl, It was just we were happy to know, right? We were going to be happy regardless. So, anyways, this is an exclusive. You're hearing it first, right here, right now. My sister is going to be having a boy. My sister's gonna have a son. I am going to have a nephew. I already know the name she picked out, but I think it's a little too early to say that. I know what name she picked out for either boy or girl. But I think it's a little too early to say the name. For now, I just know I'm going to have a nephew. And of course I'm happy. I would have been happy regardless, you know? It's not my kid. And even if it was my kid, if I was having a kid, I would be happy with either one, right? But you heard me say it before. My prediction was right. See, my sister and her husband, they originally wanted a girl. And I was thinking, because they both wanted a girl, it's probably going to be a boy. And I was right. My sister did actually switch up. Like, now I want a boy. I don't really want a girl anymore or as much. Now I want a boy. But yeah! Poor her husband, though. Her husband wanted a girl. Because in his household growing up, it was all boys. You know? It was he and his brother. So it kind of makes sense that he would have wanted a girl, but, you know, he's getting a son instead. You know, they can always try again, right? Nothing I really need here. First, just out of curiosity, is there anything in the initial spawn for Rowlets? No. So yeah, my sister's going to have a son. I'm going to have a nephew. Now, first of all, like I mentioned, I didn't really care. I would have been happy either one, whichever one my sister was going to have. I am, of course, happy it's a boy, right? I would have been just as happy if it was a girl. My parents, however, my mom was ecstatic because she wanted a grandson. She had a gut feeling. She even told me she dreamt it was a boy. And yeah, she's gonna have a grandson. And same thing with my dad. I don't think he really cared. Like, he didn't care if it was a boy or a girl, but to find out it's a boy, of course he's happy. Wait, this isn't where I meant to go. Whatever. Even though it's not my kid, I'm still thinking long term, like, ooh. We know boys, even though well, I don't know. This ain't fact, but boys can be easier than girls, at least in the baby phase. I know, at least from my parents, that me as a toddler was way easier than my sister as a toddler. But I'm just thinking ahead. I'm thinking, oh man, when that boy reaches his teenage years, yeah, that's gonna be rough, but I feel like a teenage girl is probably more rough. Because, like, let's face it for a second, we know the dangers of having a teenage girl. A teenage boy, he may do some stupid shit, but, like, the repercussions, the consequences aren't that big, unless he gets into some legal trouble. So yeah, it's like, I feel like a boy will be easier than a girl, especially in the teenage years. I think back to when my sister was a teenager, how I witnessed all the trouble she got into, how angry my dad would be at her. Me as a teenager, yeah, I did some stupid stuff, but it was never really that bad, you know? Me as a teen, it was mostly just leave me alone, I'm gaming. I never went out to party, I never drank, I didn't do no substances. You know, it also didn't help that seeing my sister go through all that stupidity. I didn't want none of that heat. I didn't want none of that smoke, so I kept to myself. I think this is more person-specific. Welp. And I also like this argument that I heard, I don't remember where. I don't remember who said this. Someone said to, well, specifically my mom, you should be grateful your son games all day. That means he doesn't go out to parties, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do anything crazy. He stays home, he games, you know exactly where he is and what he's doing. It's just like, yeah! Yeah, Mom, be grateful! I play video games all the time. I may never meet a woman and give you a grandkid, but be grateful! You know exactly where I am and what I'm doing. Anyway, so, yeah. Yeah, that's the news. Man, I didn't really get much good sleep last night. I was tossing and turning. I was able to fall asleep, but I was still tossing and turning. I sometimes do meth to help my day go by fast. JK, I don't. What else was I gonna talk about? Why do I feel like I'm forgetting stuff? You know, I thought about a couple things. First of all, I thought about, like, and this is a big coincidence too, because Caleb City just released his video titled Illiterate? Question mark, I think. And it's like, damn, I just thought about this. I was just about to talk about it. And I was thinking, like, do we really read words, or do we just memorize what they look like based on the orders of the letters, and we just memorize that, you know, this conglomerate of shapes sounds like this, means this. Do we actually read the words, or do we just memorize what the word looks like? Because I think it was in, like, a Ryan Higa video. Do you memorize... Do you really quickly count 5 balls, or do you remember what 5 balls looks like? Like, do you really quickly read the word, or do you recognize what the word is? And it's funny, because, like I said, Caleb City just posted his video, Illiterate, and in his skit, he's just like, oh, I only speak English, but I never learned to read. I only memorize what the word looks like, but I can't read. Anything 5 and below, our brain can auto-count it. In his skit, he was just like, okay, then what do you do when you see a word you never read before, you never seen before? Well, I cross-reference the shapes that are in the word, and I cross-reference if those shapes are in other words and see how they sound in there, and then I work from there. It's like, man, that's called reading! Another thing I thought about. Thank God the seminar's over. Were you able to hear that in the background? It was already on the quietest setting. I couldn't mute it because for some reason, if I were to mute on Zoom, it would count as like, are you leaving? No, you're staying. Then you have to have the volume on, even if it's the lowest setting. Anyway, so I thought about something else. So people with a British accent, people who are British with an English accent, I got to thinking, is that how the English language is supposed to sound like? Because where did English come from? England. So people from England have an English accent. That's where the English language originated, I think. Right? So, like, is a British accent the way English is supposed to sound like? So this, like, Western American accent, is that not how it's supposed to sound like? Is an English, British accent the way it's supposed to sound like? Apparently the American accent is closer to what the OG British accent is supposed to sound like. Really? Modern British accent developed around 1800. Really? It's kind of like saying how artificial banana tastes closer to real bananas than what we actually have. Because something like a fungus killed bananas initially, and then the bananas we have now don't taste like they were supposed to. We engineered bananas to come back, thus we have the bananas we taste now. But artificial banana is supposed to taste closer to the original, before whatever fungus killed them all. Anyways, some historians say Shakespeare sounds better in American. Interesting. Interesting. I saw a video about this. Oh, also, Twitch has this new thing where this new feature auto-enabled. Streamer VODs and content will automatically be feeding AI, will be instantly automatically teaching AI unless you opt out. And the thing is, it's instantly turned on because they knew if it was turned off, nobody would turn it on to actually enable that setting. So they turned it on by default, and you have to go out of your way to turn it off. Now, I did turn it off. I did. It actually wasn't that hard to find. We know how Twitch's settings are a jumbled mess. But I did find it, and I did turn it off, but let's face it. If they're not training whatever AI, they're gonna be... This is gonna be training a different AI. I feel like we branched off in the timeline somewhere, where now AI is everywhere, and it's doing more harm than good. I feel like we just branched off somewhere. We're living in a bad timeline. God, where's the TVA when you need it? Just prune this timeline. This timeline sucks. Wait, I need the berries again. Alright, I see a mime. Oh yeah, I also was told something was going on with the Pokemon Center website, maybe? Where it's like 30th anniversary Pikachu cards were shown off. I don't know. I don't know all the details. I don't collect cards anymore. When I tried to visit the Pokemon Center website, I did get put into a queue to wait to actually access because I don't know, higher volume than usual amount of customers trying to go in. Anyone else wonder sometimes, like, when you try to go into a website, it says, click here to verify you are not a robot. Like, does that even actually do anything? Or, like, click and hold to verify you are human. Oh yeah, I think there were some old TCG product being sold today. Sold out in like an hour. An hour? Man, y'all are slowing down. Y'all need to step it up. An hour. Oh, wrong Alpha Horde. I don't want these stinky Mr. Mimes. But yeah, like, clicking the I'm not a robot option. Does that even actually do anything? I heard online, like, the reason they do that is to show you as a human being, do not move your mouse in a straight line. You move it in, like, a very curved line or whatever. Because if a robot were to go approach and click it, the mouse cursor would move in a straight line to it. Yeah, it checks your cookies and history in mouse. I would love to run an experiment. Whenever that pops up, I don't know, somehow move my mouse perfectly in a straight line. Now, I'm human, I cannot do that. Unless I have a ruler. But even then, it's like, I kind of have to have the angle perfected beforehand. I'll be honest, I kind of don't even know if I'll talk about the shows tonight. Nah, you know what? I still rather should. I really should. I am so behind on so much shit, you know? There's like a dozen movies that came out months ago that I never even got the chance to watch, let alone talk about. I don't have a lot of time anymore. God damn it. You know, it's hard enough to actually watch the movie, but then afterwards take time to hyper-analyze it, really break down the plot, really scope out each frame for Easter eggs and whatever. I don't have a lot of time to do that anymore. You know, when it comes to episodic shows, those don't take as long. But a movie, that's like 2 to 3 hours I gotta set aside, and then more time afterwards to really go over the film again, to really pick out anything. It's like, I don't have time anymore! Another horde of filthy Mr. Mimes. Is there any bit of news I missed? Because I feel like I'm forgetting something. I think tomorrow night I'm having dinner with the rest of the extended family, you know, the husband's side, like his parents and brother and whatnot. And well, I don't think they were told, you know, the gender yet. But I'm sure they will be happy, period. You know, they would have been happy regardless, but what the results actually is, yeah, they're gonna be extra happy. Because in a way, that's all that really matters when it comes to continuing the lineage, I suppose. Am I too late, or do I have to make it daytime again? Yeah, I gotta make it daytime. You know, I'm waiting for them to tell my uncle and cousins before I announce it to my friends, because I have a way of announcing it to my friends I have in mind. But in order for that to happen, I need everyone to know. Earlier today on Instagram, I saw a reel of two chicks. One of them being like, I only date tall guys." The other girl like, "Wait, how old are? Not how old. How tall are you?" 150 centimeters. So every guy's taller than you. Just stomps away angry. I sent this to one of my friends, and she replied saying, "You know I'm tall, right? LMAO." I replied, "Yeah, I'm saying I'm not." And I heard on the radio the other day, you know, it's the same thing that I heard and mentioned before. Whenever in an argument, the woman wants to be right, the guy just wants the argument to be over. So the guy apologizes, even if he's in the right. He just wants the argument to be over, while the woman wants to be right. So this being the topic, some person was calling into the radio show, and she was saying like, "Yeah, my husband did exactly this, and I got so angry because like, how dare you shut me up?" So it's like, well, there's no winning then. You're angry that he apologized to you to end the conversation, to end the argument, and you're like, how dare you shut me up? And you'd be mad if he didn't apologize. There's no winning. What I'm about to say might be a little based, but like, don't you think, fellas, fellas out there, don't you think that if there are all these memes and stereotypes of the way women act, don't you think that they themselves would recognize a pattern? It's kind of the opposite, you know? There's a bunch of there's a bunch of stereotypes and memes on how guys act, and it's like, yeah, yeah, we do act that way. We acknowledge, yeah, that's true. Because it's accurate. We do act that way. But in a way, women just you know, brush off all the very documented ways that they act. And then when they act like that, they kind of just don't even recognize it. And I say this because I live with a sister who fits every single stereotype out there. And a mother, too. Yeah, My dad and I have learned survival, pretty much, to just, like, avoid them. to try to not set off the time bomb that's built into their DNA. And I do, every time my sister and I get into an argument, I do just try to de-escalate. Whew, I restrain myself. I hold myself back not to yell back at her. And I especially hold myself back not to just punch her in the face. I'm just like, man, whenever you act this way, I'm walking. I'm leaving. I'm not dealing with your shit. Like, you act this way, I'm gone. I'm just leaving the room. Like, I hold myself back so much not to yell back, and especially not to just, like, sock her square in the jaw. Like, I have to hold myself back so badly. Oh, anyway, so following up on what I was saying earlier, the big announcement. Yeah, my mom showed my coworker uh, the the X-rays, the ultrasounds, the pictures of what the embryo looks like. She saw it and instantly went, "Yeah, that's a boy," because those pictures are different from my ultrasounds. Because she's had two daughters now, she knows what a daughter embryo X-ray looks like. She instantly took one look and went, "That's a boy." She's having a son. That's a boy right there. My mom was just like, "Huh? How can you tell? You can tell just by looking?" And she's right. Of course, I'm happy, but I'm also terrified. Like, oh, I remember what my cousin was like when he was running around the house. Oh man, I can't imagine that again. But all the time. My cousin was here for, a couple weeks at a time, visiting. When it comes to my sister, that's permanent until a couple years pass. Oh man, I think back to when I was younger, what my dad probably had to deal with. My fat ass running up and down the stairs, stomping down every step, thinking not only the stairs are about to cave in, but the whole house is gonna collapse. I think back to when my parents were younger. Well, particularly my dad. I already told the story about my mom. My dad, having two stampeding animals called children running around the house. Oof. You know, I do wish for parenthood one day. I do want to have kids one day, but I also dread thinking, oh man, those little animals running around, not knowing what they're doing. Oh my goodness. It's like, oof, I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. Because now that I'm older, wiser, have a little bit more money, and unk status, I think to myself, oof, those kids running around, breaking stuff, ooh, that's money right there. It's not like the kid knocking over a glass and shattering it, that's like $5 to replace. They bust a hole in the wall, that's like $300 to repair. And that did happen once. But from my sister, of all people. My sister my sister was running down the stairs and she could not stop herself. So when she came down, she kneed the wall and there was a nice indentation. And that was her in her teenage years, not even her in her child years, too. You could put them in a padded cell. I'm sure CPS would not appreciate that. the entire family is thinking, how the hell is my sister gonna raise a kid? Just don't let them know. True, you can get away with any crime, just never let anyone know. Or any witnesses. Yeah, we're concerned as hell as how my sister is going to raise a kid. Cause I was joking around with my mom the other day. I was, the two of us were cooking dinner, which, by the way, for some reason, I guess my sister gets this from my mom. Well, technically my dad does this too, just less often. Sometimes when I get home from work, I'd be tired, right? I wake up early, I have to commute like an hour. I work, I get home, I'm tired, right? Sometimes when I get home, I just want to lie in bed, rest just a little bit before dinner time. And a lot of times it's like, nah, I even have the door closed. I lie there trying to fall asleep, trying to rest with my door closed. Either my sister or my mom, they will just open the door, walk right in, be like, all right, get up, cook dinner. It's either come down and help me with dinner or go down and help mom with dinner. Wait, hold on a second, I used berries. No, I gotta restart. And, I even have my door closed. What if I actually fully fell asleep, right? Well, not even 5 minutes of being asleep, they would have just barged right in and woke me up. I've yelled at them before, but then it turns into my fault. Like, what are you so angry about? You can't even help me cook dinner? What are you so angry about? Man, get out of here. Go rest. I'll make dinner myself. No, they actually do that. They're actually like that. Anyways, so, yeah, the other night when that happened, when I was trying to sleep, just trying to get a little bit of rest before dinner time, my mom just came right in and is like, alright, come down, help me fry the rice. Anyway, so, I know better, I didn't say anything. I wasn't exactly, I didn't exactly have the happiest of expressions, but I didn't say anything. Instead, I was just joking around with my mom. I'm just like, Mom, let me tell you a scenario, and you tell me if this sounds accurate, if it sounds like this would happen or not. See, the thing my sister always says is, well, because my sister can't cook for shit. The thing my sister always says is, she will learn to cook when the time comes. When the time comes for her to learn how to cook, then she will. But until then, nah. So I asked my mom, Mom, let me run you a scenario, and you tell me how accurate this sounds. How likely would this happen? So if I'm down here cooking dinner, if I call out to her, sister, come down here. She comes down the stairs, she enters the kitchen. What? What do you want me for? Learn to cook. Stand beside me and learn to cook. What are the chances she's gonna go, ugh, that's what you called me for? Ugh, waste my time. And then just walk away. I asked my mom, how likely does that sound like it would happen? It's like, yeah, she probably would do that 1-to-1. And if I say to her, you said yourself, when the time comes to learn how to cook, you said you would. Well, you're having a kid, sounds like now's the time to learn. Because you kind of don't have time to learn after the kid is here. You'll be resting, recovering from after the childbirth, and then you'll have a young infant to watch over 24/7. You will not have time to learn, at least not for like a couple months, a year at least. So like, well, You said yourself, when the time comes, you'll learn. Now's that time! If I even say this to her, I bet to God, she would actually get angry. She would probably yell at me. It's like, I'm just like, Mom, how likely does this sound like it would happen? How accurate does this sound like would be the case? And then my dad, hearing slander, kind of just butts in and just goes, no, 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 no. You talking shit about your sister? No, 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 none of that. Like, mean things? No, not in this household. How dare you speak poorly about your sister? It's like, are you serious, father? Like, really? What I just said, does it not sound like that will 100% play out? So another thing my parents are highly advising my sister do during her pregnancy is eat one of everything. Eat everything except peanuts because my sister cannot have peanuts. So eat everything. That way the baby, the embryo, will be exposed to a little bit of everything even before being born, and thus greatly lowers the chances of the kid being allergic to anything besides peanuts. You know what's funny? My sister has a mild allergic reaction to peanuts, but neither of my parents do, nor do I. For some reason, only she does. I'm not too sure if any of our grandparents had a peanut allergy. You know, we never met Grandma. She died long before my sister and I existed, so can't ask her. And I don't think the other three do. At least if they do, we don't know about it. Anyway, so yeah, my parents are advising my sister to just eat a little bit of everything, even foods you don't like. You don't need to eat a whole bowl full of it, just one single bite. You know, just a teensy bit of exposure for the embryo. And because my sister does not like mushrooms at all, she does not like mushrooms. Well, tonight my mom was just nagging her to eat even just one piece, not even a full mushroom, just one slice of mushroom. She's just like, eat it! Eat it! It's gonna be good for your kid long term. Eat it! And I'm just like, you don't want the kid to inherit your husband's mild mushroom allergy, do you? Believe it or not, he actually does. My sister does not like mushrooms, and her husband is allergic to mushrooms. So, like, their household is gonna have no shrooms whatsoever. Anyways, I'm just like, well, me myself, I'll never be pregnant because I kind of don't have the genetic makeup for that to happen. I'll never be pregnant, so I never need to eat cucumbers to ensure my kid doesn't get allergic to it. Yay for me! I hate cucumbers. Yay for me, but too bad for her. Now eat that damn mushroom. Anyways, I suppose I should hurry up and get into these shows because I have two to go over, and I may not have enough time. So let's just go. All right. So we have two episodes to go over, if I even have time anymore. Now, like I said, I have to base these off of memory. Lately, I've been, writing down notes, but I kind of didn't have time to. Why didn't you take down the notes while you were watching the episodes? Shut the hell up. Sometimes I'd be lazy to, okay? Sometimes I want to watch the episode, just sit back, watch, and enjoy. And then upon a second viewing, when I pick up the details I missed the first time, I'll write down notes and, like, bullet points, to really be thorough, alright? So sometimes I just be lazy and I would rather just watch it again. Rewatch the episode. And sometimes it's a good thing I do, because upon first time viewing, sometimes I do miss details. Anyways, let me drink some water first. I didn't really drink any water all day. I had bubble tea today primarily. Alright, so let's begin. We have Dead City to talk about, and then Lanterns, which I gotta admit, the show is actually good. Would you believe DC Studios' Lanterns, at least the first episode, it's actually really good. This is a great sign. All the trailers didn't do the show any justice. All the trailers look pretty shitty. Every single Lanterns trailer made the show look very bad. It made it look like it was a very joke-filled, humorous show. It made the quality look very low. But upon watching the show, at least the very first episode, the tone is very serious. It's not haha funny at all. And, well, it's only the first episode, but they still do use special effects for the Green Lantern constructs. So that's a good sign. Obviously, we know that they're saving most of their budget for the big spectacles later on. But, it's fine. It was only the first episode. But I am pleasantly surprised. Episode 1 was actually great. Now, if this tone keeps up for the rest of the season, then we may have an actual banger on our hands. And you guys already know, like, recent track record of excellent shows I've seen out of all the shows that I've been watching. Like, truly, excellent shows. Shows like The Penguin, Welcome to Derry, Spider Noir. Those shows have been chef's kiss. 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s. I'm really hoping now that Lanterns is also going to be one of these. But let's hold off for a second. Let's go over Dead City first. Alright, so, Dead City, Season 3, Episode 4. I don't remember how many episodes are in this season. Maybe there's 7, maybe 8. I think 8 might be wishful thinking, but that might be the case. So we open up this episode by seeing Maggie and Louise actually leaving Manhattan, driving somewhere rather far away to meet with someone. And we learn who that someone is from one of Louise's patients. This guy somehow has ear piercings in the apocalypse. Not really a priority, but whatever. This guy, yeah, I forget exactly what's wrong with him, but he wants something for the pain, right? Because they're out of, like, painkillers. He even says he'll trade for whatever little resources they have left for painkillers. So he pulls out this, like, vintage bottle of booze. I forget exactly what brand it is or what kind of alcohol it even is. Louise is just like, do you know how much this goes for even before the world fell? Where did you get this? And thus they learn about a character named the Trader. Whoever the Trader is able to get her hands on anything. Anything. But you better have things to trade in exchange. So because they're low on medical supplies, obviously they need medical supplies. They need morphine, they need whatever else that I'm not familiar with. Renata actually wants Louise to go. That way he can verify the medications, verify that they are legit, that they actually work. And she wants Maggie to accompany him for protection. It makes sense. Even though it is dangerous and a big risk, Louise is able to verify whatever medicines that the trader supposedly gives. And Maggie, well, she's a tough mama bear. She's able to protect him. So that's where they're going. They sail off of the island of Manhattan. They go inland, deep into New York. New York State, I should say. I think they even go so far as to leave New York City. I'm not too sure, though. New York's a big place. While they're on their road trip, we also see what our other characters are doing in Manhattan. So, Renata, Negan, Dillard, and Herschel, they're all hoarding up walkers with bucket on their heads. They even make it into a little game, you know? But when they're loading up the walkers into, like, this truck, into this van, we see the concrete floor below the vehicle starting to crack. That can't be a good sign. Whenever anything happens, it's never a good sign. So, Negan, Dillard, and this other guy, they are bringing in walkers down to where the tanks are into these cells. And each walker has a bucket over their head, obviously for protection, for safety purposes. And I'm kind of thinking, what's even the point? You're gonna stab them in the head and dump them into the tank anyways. Why not just stab them to be ultra safe and kind of just have a pile of dead corpses? I know a pile of diseased, rotting bodies isn't necessarily safe or sanitary, but it's like, well, neither are them walking around. They're still decaying dead corpses. Like, why not just stab them in the head and just throw them in a pile? Whatever. So this one guy who doesn't really matter, this character really just in this episode, maybe. He tries to push a walker into the cell, but this walker is very waterlogged. Like, very waterlogged. This walker almost looks swole. Yeah, because the door can only go so wide, or maybe he just didn't open the door all the way. The walker can't exactly fit in. So somehow, you know, he manages to get inside with the walker and the bucket off. See, what really happened was the walker's water muscles burst, releasing all this disgusting pus. He slips into the cell with the walker and the bucket's off. So now the walker is on top of him trying to bite his face off. And, okay, would you believe he even drops the key inside the cage? And, you know, nobody can reach the key. Nobody can actually open the cell. How did all this happen? So Negan has to really quickly rush over, jumping over the cage and, you know, kill the walker. Renata enjoys what she sees. She likes seeing Negan actually put some effort into saving someone else, because she has a pretty negative impression of Negan so far. She knows that Negan does not care about anyone. But seeing this selfless act, seeing Negan jump into action so quickly on a dime, you know, she's impressed by what she sees. So, she pulls Negan aside and actually offers him a reward. The final apartment living space in the building. She offers it to Negan. What is it this time? Another Abra. spawn in and looked this way. You spawned in and looked exactly this way. So anyways, Renata offers Negan the final apartment space for him to live in. But Negan, he's a little suspicious, like, so, if I accept your offer to live here, I have to live by your rules, isn't that right? So yeah, it's like, yep, you live under Renata's rules, no killing. Or in Negan's case, no more killing. Because she actually says to Negan, she knows that Negan killed the Dama. And she can tell because before the Dama died with the knife in her chest, she actually went in to eat some of her food, some of her tuna casserole. I think that's what it was. Why would the Dama, after making her decision to eat, especially since she was on a hunger strike, why would she make the decision to eat only for her to then decide to kill herself? She knows that Negan was the one who killed her. And it's like, well, you accept my deal. I don't tell Maggie about it. Anyway, so speaking of Maggie and Louise, yeah, we also get this sweet moment where Maggie and Louise, they talk during the car ride. Louise, he opens the window, sticks his hand out, just lets his hand glide. Maggie at first doesn't want to do the same, but she eventually does. It's not a plane if only one of them does it. And, well, at least neither of them lost their hand like Peter Griffin did that one time, giving birth to Retep. They, because where they're going is rather far, they do also need to, spend the night in the open road. They also gather food supplies from their pantry. So I think they mix together like beef jerky or whatever with mac and cheese. And I'm thinking, like, really? We're talking 15 to 20 years into the Walker apocalypse. You're telling me beef jerky and, like, pre-apocalypse packaged beef jerky and instant mac and cheese. Not only do some of those still exist, but they're still edible? Like, I know that those can last, but like, 20 years? If the dehydrated macaroni doesn't go bad, surely maybe the cheese powder might. Whatever. And I think Maggie killed and cooked up, I don't know, maybe a rat? A possum? I don't know, whatever she cooked up. Louise just like, it's finger-licking good. Just can't get enough of it. They hear a noise rustling from like a bush. MREs be bussin' in the apocalypse. Anyway, so they hear a noise in the bush. So they go and check it out. Maybe it's more livestock to feed on. They go over and they see a very sad sight. They see a grave, and next to it is a skeleton, a decayed skeleton. Whoever was buried here just couldn't let go of their grief. So, seeing this, this sad sight, they decide to spend the rest of the night in their van. So, they talk for a bit. Louise reveals that he had a wife, but he never saw her again after everything started. She just, like, left abruptly, trying to go find her parents, and she never came back. Louise can only assume that she's gone, but he doesn't know for sure. And he doesn't get to know. He'll never be able to know. And, that's kind of the sad things about the apocalypse, if you're separated from your family, you kind of just will never find out. I mean, we're not talking absurdity, kind of like Carol convincing Ash to fly her to France, claiming Sophia is there, and who knows, maybe she's still alive after all these years. Obviously, we knew that Sophia died long ago, but, like, Ash didn't know that. But whatever. Yeah, so we learned that Louise had a wife that he never saw again. They ask each other, what do you want to be in this new world, with this new start? Because we're building something new and actually functional in Manhattan. Who do you want to be in this new world? Louise, he just wants to be someone who can help, someone others can rely on, because, you know, he's a doctor. But Maggie, she doesn't really have an answer to that. Anyway, so they continue their trip, and they do meet the trader. And she is doing well for herself. She's doing very well for herself. She's clean. She has, like, this, like, purple trench coat, maybe. She has this, like, dew on her hair. However she's living lavishly. Just a cabin in the woods with goods to trade. I don't know, you openly call yourself the trader, and you have a reputation for being able to get your hands on anything at all. How have you not been raided yet? How has a group not come to your cabin and absolutely held you at gunpoint and taken everything you had yet? You should be very lucky that has not happened yet. Anyway, so they encounter the trader, and Louise asks for morphine, asks for whatever other medical supplies he needs. And the trader's just like, you better have something as valuable as the sun to trade for all that. And, well, it just so happens they do have something quite valuable for trade. Maggie has blueprints and plans for how to turn the dead into energy. How to use the dead to make morphine. Not morphine. To make methane. To make electricity. Power. At first, the trader is skeptical, like, bullshit. No shit, we have blueprints. So they're invited inside, without their weapons, of course. Put the weapons in the van, and then we come in, we can talk. Trader looks over all the blueprints, and she's just like, I know someone who used to work on, like, airplanes or rockets or whatever. I will run these blueprints through that person first to make sure they're legit, and then you will get your stuff. I need your van. I'm taking your van. Of course, our characters are like, bullshit, you're not taking our van. Trader just goes, look, everything you're asking for, I'm not going to be able to carry it all myself. I need your van to carry all the stuff you're asking for. I need your van to go speak to my person. You can spend the night here. It's safe here. And it's like, well, this smells like a trap if I've ever heard one. The trader is taking away your only mode of transportation, and you kind of just left all your weapons in the vehicle as well. And now she's going to be taking it. But they take the risk. So the trader, she takes the van for the day, for the night. Maggie and Louise, they spend the night there. So, what are they doing to pass the time? They play Jenga. Like, honestly, they play Jenga. And it's nice. You know, they haven't had free time, downtime like this. So they play a nice game of Jenga. It's nice to see characters just unwind, relax, have a little fun in this, like, horrific, godforsaken, depressing, death-filled world. So they play Jenga until their game is interrupted from someone knocking at the door. At this point, the only weapon they have is a broomstick. And whoever's knocking at the door, he has, like, a sack of apples? They tie him to a chair to make sure that, you know, he's not a threat. They ask him some questions. Are you alone? Why couldn't this be shiny, by the way? We would have been done this right now. Are you a threat? Are you alone? Do you have a community? Where's your community? And the dude is honest, right? He also claims that he's in a good group, an actual good community who is upholding the Christian beliefs. No violence, no everything else that's said in the Bible. But Maggie is skeptical, you know? She's been in quote-unquote Christian groups before, and we saw those groups were more cult-like than actual group-like. I forget what the guy's name was, actually. He does offer them to, like, come with me, and I will show you our community. We have food. Like, we are safe. You can trust me. Of course they're skeptical. Louise is just like, what do you think? Luring us with his apples to his camp of cannibals? See, the thing is, Maggie has already gone through that. She already encountered a cannibal group. But they actually do go and, you know, check it out. And yeah, it really is a safe group. A small little camp, almost looks like a summer camp. It has walls that are built up, sturdy enough to the point where the walls have been built up since the beginning of the outbreak, and it has not been breached once. So the children growing up here are safe. They've always been safe. Never been exposed to the outside world. The man even introduces our characters to his granddaughter. Like, it's that safe. They're just like, we had you tied to a chair half an hour ago. You're being this kind to us. So they actually offer the blueprints, another copy of the blueprints, to him. Like, these blueprints could offer you people energy and power to change this place. But the man declines, thinking it'll change their entire way of life. The children here grew up never knowing TV screens, phone screens, all that noise. So he actually declines their offer. Which, you know, is respectable, especially in this setting. This community, they have a party that night. A party, they throw a party every full moon. With lots of food, dancing, music. They invite both Louise and Maggie to join, since they're already standing there. So they join, they drink, like, what, blueberry wine or whatever, and they dance. They dance happy, you know, upbeat dancing. And then, comes the slow dance. So Maggie and Louise, they have a slow dance together. Maggie even admits that she forgot what this feels like. You know, face up close with Louise and dancing around. She actually goes in and kisses Louise. But it's not real. She was actually just fantasizing about kissing Louise. And then... oh, this almost brings tears to my eyes. The moment she kisses Louise, in her mind, we see flashbacks to Glenn. Flashbacks to when Glenn proposed. Flashbacks to Glenn saying I love you to Maggie. She feels so guilty, potentially being with another man, even after all this time has passed. She just can't bring herself to do it. So she feels guilty even fantasizing about kissing Louise. she just stops their dance and they decide, or at least she decides they should leave. Wait, what am I doing? I'm so used to the permutation now. So the next morning, Maggie apologizes for what happens, but Luis, he understands. Maggie also fiddles with her wedding ring that Glenn gave her. You know, it's now a necklace around her neck. The trader returns, as promised, with the van fully intact and all the medical supplies that they requested. And you know, just like the food rations, I'm thinking, this medical supply is still fine after all these years? And it's not even like someone, it's probably not like someone made this after the apocalypse, because they're all bottled up with labels, like genuinely bottled up, manufactured. You know, you have syringes, you have these like morphine containers, like these vials. You actually have this stuff? Like, this stuff lasted almost 20 years? And we don't even learn where the trader gets it from. She just has a reputation of being able to get her hands on anything. Yo, that could not have been easy to get her hands on. Finding even just one container of medical supply is already next to impossible. Finding all this, that's just not happening. All of this, still functional and untouched. But whatever. So, okay. She promised the medical supplies, and yeah, they made the trade. So, Maggie and Luis, they drive back. And what's going on over at Manhattan? Negan actually goes and sees Renata, and he just, like, calls Renata out on her bullshit. Like, I'm embarrassed to say, it took me a while to sniff out your bullshit. See, your deal wasn't a deal. It was more of a threat. See, either I take up your offer and live by your rules, that way you can keep a close eye on me to make sure I stay in line, or if I don't follow your rules, you just lock me up in a cell. You blab my doings to Maggie. Maybe that was Renata's intention, but I don't think it was. Renata comes off as a good, genuine person. Kind of like when she was also Ella Lopez on the Lucifer show. You know, she does come off as a genuine person. So I don't think it was her intention to threaten Negan. I think she genuinely wanted to reward Negan for doing something good. So I feel like Renata was absolutely offended by Negan thinking this is what she was doing. Anyway, so our characters then and there arrive back. It's like, what I miss? Oh, nothing. Nothing really. And at that moment, uh-oh. Because, of course, nothing good can ever happen in this universe. They begin to feel like, hey, did you feel that? They feel the ground shaking. We head over to Herschel and Dillard, where Dillard points out, oh no, not another earthquake. We had an earthquake a couple years ago. It swallowed up a whole different portion of wherever. I can't remember where he said. But yeah, Manhattan is being hit with another earthquake. And, like, impossibly inconvenient, the earthquake hits the one and only building where they keep all their food supply. Like, of all places. So they know the building's about to collapse because they see the floor is cracking, the concrete is cracking, the support pillars holding up the building is cracking too. So they know they only have so much time to get in the building, grab as much food as they can, and get out. Otherwise, that food is lost. Perfectly good food, lost. So while Renata, Herschel, and Dillard, they go in and grab as much food as possible, outside, well, the walkers that were loading into the truck, well, the earthquake kind of shakes them loose. Now they have a horde of walkers without their bucket heads on. They actually made buckethead zombies. Anyways. So Negan and Maggie, they need to fight off the walkers, and Louise. Maggie is swarmed. First of all, one walker is on top of her, and her knife has, fell elsewhere. She tries to grab her knife, but she also has to keep the walker from biting her. And unfortunately, the walker pulls a Joe Chill, and the walker manages to rip the necklace off of Maggie, and thus her wedding ring rolls away. She manages to kill the walker, but instead of getting up, she tries to crawl her way to wherever the ring rolled to. She's also trying to find the ring, that's why she's crawling, closer to the ground. She is crawling to find the ring, but she is absolutely surrounded by walkers. Any other person would have died on the spot, would have been torn apart on the spot. But because this is Maggie we're talking about, she's one of the co-stars, she has plot armor. So Negan saves her. And he has to take Maggie away, even though she is desperately trying to find her wedding ring. And I was just thinking, well, that was pretty stupid, hanging the ring around your neck. If it was on your finger, this would not have happened. Alright, so Renata, Herschel, and Dillard, they grab as much food as they can before the building collapses. So now, they're separated by a giant chasm that created by the earthquake. And, yes, the building, the one and only building that completely collapses, is the building that held all their food supply. Like, what are the chances? Not a building like 3 blocks away, not the building beside, no. The only building that collapsed was the building with all their food in it. All of it. So now, the entire floor has caved in. Any chance of Maggie finding her wedding ring are kind of slim to none. But I bet you she's probably going to find it somehow. And, well, that's where the episode ends. I think. I'm pretty sure. You know, there's been this, like, debate this whole time about, like, should Maggie and Negan hook up? To that, I say, hell no. That is the worst decision you can make ever since Carl died. But, you know, with that discussion, with that conversation, that debate, people also bring up, well, it's been, like, 15 years for Maggie. She should be able to move on from Glenn. And it's like, yeah, I don't completely disagree with that. What I disagree with is being with Negan. But now we see that the show has even tried to tiptoe around that. Maggie just can't. She can't get over her guilt if she does hook up with someone else. Even someone good, like Louise. It's like, damn, you know, I can only hope to meet someone that loyal. You know, won't even move on after I'm dead, like 15 years later. Feels tremendous guilt for hooking up with someone else. I can only hope to meet someone like that. God damn it, Glenn, you found yourself a keeper. Why did they have to kill you off? Anyway, so I better hurry up. I still have lanterns to go over. Anyway, so like I was saying, Lanterns is actually a surprisingly good show. At least episode 1 has been so far. Alright, so let's quickly go over this. So, Lanterns, episode 1. We begin with a scene taking place in the year 1996. We see a young Hal Jordan. Wait, what? We see a young Jon Stewart and his brothers watching the TV as on the news, we're getting an interview with Hal Jordan, making himself publicly known as Green Lantern. And supposedly this might be the first superhero Earth has been publicly aware of. So anyways, the other brothers are frantically saying like, yo, turn the TV off, hurry up, he's coming. But John, he is just so entranced by Hal Jordan being on TV that he just like doesn't even hear his brothers. He just keeps watching, and then their father shows up. And Papa Stewart, I guess as a punishment for like his son staying up and watching TV, he takes young Jon Stewart outside, puts an apple on his head, and shoots the apple off, like with a gun, a genuine bullet. During the interview with Hal Jordan on TV, it's just like, you know, bravery, no fear. And John does not have fear of his father shooting an apple off his head. So the apple gets shot off, and, you know, he's proud of his son for having no fear. And then flash forward 20 years to the year 2016. We see a grown-up Jon Stewart in the gym, absolutely jacked, by the way. And he is being picked up by Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan is mentoring, training Jon Stewart to be a potential replacement, in case. Because according to Hal, the Guardians of the Universe have chosen Jon Stewart to be a potential replacement. Replacement or backup in case anything ever happens to Hal. So Hal needs to train Jon Stewart. John is very formal, constantly calling Hal Sir. And we know how Hal Jordan is. He's kind of egotistic, snarky, rude at times. So, what does he do to test John? Because John claims they've been training for like 2 months and he hasn't even worn the ring yet. So Hal takes off his ring, gives it, well actually he doesn't give it, he puts it on like the dashboard of the card, and he just turns to John and says, there's a taco stand about 3 miles up ahead, I'll meet you there. He jumps out the car, leaving John in the car about to drive off a cliff, so he has to really quickly grab the ring, put it on, and live. And stay alive. And no surprise, he does! He survives! So now he is tasked with moving on his own 3 miles up to the taco stand in the middle of a desert. Literally in the middle of nowhere. Not exactly the best place to run a business, but whatever. It does bring customers, I suppose, as we see later on. So as John is walking over there, the ring has this projection of Hal. Kind of like a consciousness download. You know how for Superman at the Fortress of Solitude, Kryptonians can download their consciousnesses? Yeah. Technically, Green Lanterns need to do the same thing. I think like once a month, they say. So Hal has downloaded his consciousness into the ring just in case anything were to happen. And this younger version of Hal, speaking to John, he's much nicer, he's much more polite. And according to, Consciousness Hal in the ring, this Hal Jordan is like 10 years younger. So this is 2006 Hal Jordan, not 2016 Hal. You know, he asked some things like, "Do you and I get along?" Yeah, totally. Uh-huh. Anyways, he gives himself a message. Something like Nebraska hell is being raised or whatever. He's just like, yeah, I will understand. So, we see at the taco stand how Jordan has a bunch of fans. And he even gets the tacos on the house. How nice. So John shows up. They're about to dig in until John gives Hal his own message. The fact that Nebraska has hell raising or whatever. So John, not even eating his tacos, he just flies up, and away, leaving John stranded. So this dude actually has to go through all the customs, buy a plane ticket, and fly to Nebraska himself, or wherever he was going. Like, he goes through airport security, buys a plane ticket, gets a rental car, and actually goes there on his own. Bit of a dick move there, Hal, not gonna lie. So when we get there, it's nighttime. John meets up with Hal at, like, this football stadium place, where there actually was, like, a mass shooting that happened. A crazy mass shooting. One that we've never seen before. Not to this degree. And Hal is just kind of sitting there, observing, watching. And then we meet Officer Carrie. She walks up. She has some sort of history with Hal. She pretty much says, like, "Nice to meet you, John. Now both of you stay the fuck out of my investigation." While there, John does clock that, hey, there's one person dressed up in the crowd that's not supposed to be there. You know, there's a bunch of officers and a bunch of victims who are in body bags, but there's one person dressed casually. He looks like he's not supposed to be here. How? Shouldn't we report this? Hal's just like, nah. Nah, I have my reasons for doing things my way. And John's just like, nah, what we should do is we should tell the chain of command. He's just like, alright, go ahead. So John gets up, he walks over to Carrie, tells her about that person, and Carrie's like, yeah, I already know. I was trying to not raise suspicion and have the person be aggroed and run away. And what happens? John's just like, I fucked up just now, didn't I? Yeah, you did. Because the dude, he gets aggroed and he runs away. So we get this chase sequence of both John and Carrie chasing after this guy. And, like, damn, this dude with his pot belly, small pot belly, he's able to outrun the very, very fit and in shape Jon Stewart. Yeah, bullshit. Anyway, so yeah. John cuts him off and, you know, punches him square in the face. What am I doing? So the dude gets arrested. Hal wants to speak to the, you know, the arrestee, this guy, believing he's an alien. What proof does he have? He doesn't. He has a gut feeling he's an alien. So he's not allowed to speak to this person in custody. So John just basically fucks off and he goes to a bar. Did I say John? Hal goes to a bar. So at that bar, Hal kind of gives his story about, like, you know, how he got the Green Lantern ring. He pretty much tells his backstory, like, some other alien had it, and then he had it. I am going over this so poorly. We also see Hal uses his ring to construct counterfeit money to put into the jukebox. And the music that he chooses to play really pisses off some other patrons of the bar. And because of this, John is able to tell... Whoa. We have a golden nugget over here. This thing doesn't have self-destruct or explosion, does it? What was that almost wet, slimy sound effect with the ball just now? Did you hear that? Cool, that's our first Geodude phase. Anyway, so John is able to pick up on Hal's plan. With his counterfeit money playing the jukebox, he's going to aggro the other patrons who don't like the music, get into a bar fight, get arrested. That way, he can talk with the supposedly alien inmate in jail. It's not a great plan, but it's a plan that he's going with. So he tells John, look, I'm about to get my ass beat. It's going to look pretty serious, so I need you to not jump in and help me. John's just like, alright, no problem. Go for it. Alright, so Hal, he goes over to get his ass kicked. Like, genuinely. He gets jumped by like 4 guys. John meets a lady at the end of the bar. And while Hal literally gets bodied, John gets his dick wet. Like, he literally sleeps with this lady. He does the deed with this lady. In the parking lot. In the car. It's like, damn, brother, alright. I see your game. Alright. Anyway, so yep, Hal Jordan does get arrested. The next morning, John tries to bail out his friend. And oh, by the way, it's Carrie who arrests Hal. John tries to bail out Hal, but Carrie's just like, not before he gets like a court hearing. Like, seriously? So in court, in front of the judge, Hal kind of just goes like, oh, come on. I did that on purpose to try to speak with the alien in custody. Like, I shouldn't be tried for this. Anyway, so Hal is doing a very terrible job representing himself. So, an attorney walks in. The character Billy Macon. Yeah, he is Carrie's husband. Anyways, Hal's bail is set to like $10,000. Oh, come on. Oh, sorry, $20,000. Now you know the price for each come on, Mr. Jordan. Alright, $20,000 it is. So, Billy is saying that his father is a big fan of Green Lantern, and he's willing to pay off the bail entirely, in exchange for you coming to dinner and meeting my father. Yeah, Carrie heavily advises Hal not to, but he does anyways. So both Hal and John go to the house of Billy and Carrie. They also meet their son. I think their son's name is Noah. You know, like the second time we see a construct in this episode. Hal brings a beer peace offering to Carrie, and he constructs a beer bottle opener. CGI looks good, by the way. Like, really good. Used in small doses, but it looks really good. Carrie warns Hal, you can still walk away from this. My father-in-law is not someone you want to be in debt with. And Hal's just like, I'm still gonna meet him. So they go into the farmhouse, and wouldn't you know it, it is Garrett Dillahunt playing William Macon. You know what's funny is, like, he addresses them. He addresses them like, Hal Jordan, big fan, and you must be John. What's funny about that is, the last time I saw Garrett Dillahunt in a major role, he played John Dory. And for him to be like, you must be John. I don't know, that's kind of interesting to me. So he reveals pretty much why he wants to work with Hal Jordan. It's because he too fears he too believes that it was an alien attack. This mass shooting is unlike anything they've seen before. It's probably the work of aliens. And Hal Jordan, you are a glorified space cop. I want you to work with, more like I want to work with you to help you solve this case and, protect my community, protect my children, my grandson. That's why I bailed you out. Also, John has a moment with Noah. Noah runs over and says, Nana! And wouldn't you know it, it's the lady that John slept with. Like, holy shit, man. Hold on, let's see. In the flashback in 1996, he couldn't have been more like 7 to 8 years old. Now it's 20 years later, he's like just shy of 30, and he already slept with a grandmother. A grandmother who has to be like 50, 60 years old? Damn. Either Jon Stewart likes them mature ladies, or she is a very gracefully aged woman. So he's just like, oh shit, I just slept with the wife of our host. The guy who just bailed out Green Lantern. He really did. Oh, also, Jon Stewart's vegan. Has that always been the case? I don't ever recall hearing how Jordan... What? I don't ever recall hearing Jon Stewart was vegan. Maybe that's just a detail I always missed. Yeah, when Hal hears, like, what's the matter with you? I may have slept with the man's wife. Actually, I absolutely slept with his wife. Really? We've been here less than 24 hours! I'm impressed, Junior. Okay, well... the next day, at the police district... station... Hal managed to convince Carrie to let him at least speak to the inmate. Carrie, she reassures, like, he's human, his DNA, his blood, his everything matches human DNA. But Hal's just like, John, tell her how many alien species we know of that can perfectly mimic human biology. 14. At least 14 species of aliens known to perfectly be able to replicate human biology. Anyway, so Hal goes into the interrogation room alone to speak to this guy, whatever his name is. And, he acts normal. He's just like, so you must really love football. Drove, 2.5 hours to come see this game? What school did Harry Potter go to? Surely you've read the books. I'm not much of a reader. What about the movies? They only made like 22. So you don't know what school Harry Potter went to, Who was the president of the United States? Barack Obama. Keep in mind, this is 2016. It's like, Barack Obama. That's it? That's all you have to say about Barack Obama? Barack Obama, the president of the United States, and there's some controversy about his birth certificate. The president after President George W. Bush. It's like, wow, you are definitely an alien. So, yeah, Hal's gut feeling was right. This dude really is an alien. He pretty much just says, like, hypothetically, if I were an alien, that means I am here for a top secret mission, and I cannot reveal that mission, nor can I allow my mission to fail. Hypothetically, if I was an alien here. And also, hypothetically, I could also, you know, self-destruct with the explosive or whatever attached to my skeleton, taking you down with me, Green Lantern Hal Jordan. And he even, like, mocks Hal by reciting the Green Lantern Oath. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Those who worship evil's might, beware my power, Green Lantern's light. And this actually ticks off Hal. Anyway, so he does manage to... the alien does blow up, but Hal is able to just contain the explosion. For the most part, you know, there is still dust and debris that happen because of it. And he's just like, see, I told you. He was an alien. So now they know that there is an alien in this town, or there was. But there could be more. And what are the aliens' plans here? Well, we'll find that out later in the season. But first, we actually get another flash forward. 10 more years later, in the year 2026, we see now an older Jon Stewart with a beard driving into the snowy town, the same town that we've been in this entire episode. He drives up to this town. He actually looks, as he's driving, he looks over to a building that seemed to have collapsed. Maybe it was where the police building once was and now it's gone. Or like another building, I'm not too sure. Maybe we'll learn that later on. He meets with Officer Carey back at the stadium. You know, she's just like, yeah, Noah, he's grown up now. He's tall and he's into football now. But unfortunately, the two of them reuniting 10 years later does not seem to be for a good cause. Because in the football stadium stands sits Hal Jordan in the winter, frozen, seemingly dead. And he has no ring on his finger. They may have confirmed that Hal Jordan is dead in present day. And, well, that's the episode. Forgive me if I missed any details. And, yeah, this was actually surprisingly a really good episode. A good start to hopefully an excellent show. I'm excited. I'm prepared. I'm excited to go over the rest of the show. But, like, damn. Knowing that the end game we're heading towards is Hal Jordan being dead in 2026. Aww. I mentioned this before. Me personally, I like Hal Jordan more than Jon Stewart as Green Lantern. That's just me personally. I know there's a lot of Jon Stewart fans out there, which I like him too. It's just if I had to pick a Green Lantern to be my Green Lantern, I would pick Hal Jordan. I also love the casting too. Kyle Chandler is actually a really great pick for Hal Jordan, even though unfortunately he's old. Damn. Now I really wish we could have seen a young Kyle Chandler in his prime play Hal Jordan. That would have been sweet. Aww. And Aaron Pierre, yeah, he's a good Jon Stewart. It's just the way the dude's eyes look in reality. It kind of looks like he's wearing eyeliner all the time. Like, the actor's eyes just look like he has guy liner on at all times. That's just the guy, though. That's just how he actually is. And of course we know that Nathan Fillion's gonna show up later in this show, reprising his role as Guy Gardner. Isn't it interesting that so far across the DCU projects. It's actually Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern, who is like almost like the Nick Fury popping up everywhere. He was in Peacemaker Season 2. He was in Superman. He's going to be in this show. Anyways, I've stayed on here long enough. I'm about to end, but out of curiosity, is there anything here? No. Okay, I'm going to call it for today. Hopefully next time I won't ramble on for too long and I kind of delay talking about the shows for a bit. So next time, well actually maybe not next time because we still have to wait a couple more days for the next episodes to come out. Yeah, today's only Tuesday. The new episodes come out on Sundays. So yeah, we'll go over more of the shows, more of the episodes when the time comes. Alright, I'm gonna call it for today. Thanks, bye.